Hold on. Lyndon, what's wrong?
Hi. Well, welcome to Old Reader, New Reader. Thank you for joining us. We were so ready to start, and Amanda was so pumped. She'd been practicing her lines, and there she is.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry, guys. My daughter's recovering from a cold.
Oh, that's okay. I can introduce it. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, you got it.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Old Reader, New Reader. I'm Amanda, one of the new readers. We have Maddie, our other new reader. And then we have Omar, our resident old reader. And only old because he's just read everything, not old because of his age.
That's right.
So today you guys are joining us for a special month. We are kicking off Women's History Month, where all month long, every week, we'll be doing a book that's either features a female character or written by a female creator, or both in one of the instances. And so this week we are doing Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka. We're doing volumes 1 and 2. So before we begin, Maddie has a plug I think she wants to make.
Yeah, so we are really lucky this week. We were contacted recently by In Stock Trades, and they would like to work with us every month to pick a book to be 50% off for everyone at home. So if you haven't heard about IST, InStockTrades.com, it is the best place to buy comics. If you spend over $50, you get free shipping, which is fantastic. All of their books pretty much are up to 42% off, if not up to 50% off. So this week only, up until next Tuesday, you can get Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka, Volume 1. I'm holding Volume 2, guys, so it won't look like this. This is the one that I have. You can get Volume 1 for 50% off, which is great for me because I only have Volume 2. So I will be joining in this. Not only that, but also I will let you guys know that In Stock Trades has the best packaging ever on the entire planet. You can see reports about it. Like if you order from them at all, it's going to come in pristine condition. So I 100% recommend. It is Omar and Maddie and Amanda approved.
I am also going to purchase those books because I'm going to upgrade my original trades. And I've been, I needed a reason to, and no better reason because that Volume 1 by itself is worth it for the first story that we're going to talk about. But really quick, before we start this episode, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Kyle Vaughn. He wrote me a nice, wonderful letter. And the letter meant a lot more to me than the package that he sent my way. In that package, he sent me one of my whales that I was needing, which is Absolute Top 10 by Alan Moore and Gene Ha. So I'll do my my haul video and talk a little bit about it. But thank you very much, sir. A call is coming your way to thank you personally. So, all right. Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka. Keep in mind. So really quick, let me just set it up. This is after the Phil Jimenez run. This is after Donna Troy had died during the Young Justice and Teen Titans crossover Judgment Day. And what else has happened here? She is now ambassador from Themyscira. Thank you.
The
United States. And there's a whole cast of characters that have been introduced in the past, but I think Greg Rucka does a really good job of reintroducing them for new readers, and I enjoy that about this run. So which one of you two ladies want to talk about it first? Let's talk about the first book and what kicks off that first book.
Yeah, so I think we'll make this a team effort tonight because a lot happens. Yes. These are meaty trades. And even like within each page, Greg Rucka really fills this, Like it takes a while to get to read, but it's a great read because it's very dialogue heavy, but it's done so well. So basically, we start off just kind of learning more about Wonder Woman and what she. Oh, actually, first we start with the best story of the whole entire run.
Yep.
Which one of us can pronounce, I'm sure.
Okay, which one? There we go, Amanda, English major.
I don't know.
Hikateya. Hikateya. That's a Kentucky pronunciation.
Hikateya.
There it is. Hikateya.
Yeah, so this young woman,
is that how it is? Hikateya?
I don't know.
It's Psycho Cleveland in the chat. That's the only thing.
You are the what's it called to do this for me? Phonetics. Yes, give me some phonetics going on.
Phonetics.
So,
all right.
We start out with a young woman who is on the run from the law. She murdered a guy, actually, and she comes to Wonder Woman and kind of uses an old traditional thing where she basically is like, yeah, she submits to her and says like, I submit myself to you to put myself under your care, and she does it in an old Grecian way, in which Wonder Woman accepts, basically, without knowing her story, without anything. And basically it's like they each do something for one another, right? So Wonder Woman takes care of her and promises to like protect her, while this woman basically is like, well, I am now of service to you.
Yep.
So they enter in this, and basically a lot of the main part of this book, or this arc, is the conflict between Wonder Woman and Batman in this, because Batman is like, she is a criminal, she needs to be taken in, you can't just harbor her, you can't just do this, and for him that's an absolute, but for her, with her culture, this is an absolute. So they're constantly at odds and fighting over this, which is a really interesting dynamic between the two of them, not one we see often. But it's nice to see here, because there are instances a lot where Wonder Woman does do things the Amazonian way, which is very different than how our superheroes would deal with things.
Yes.
And at the same time, they have these three, what do we call them, Amanda? Those three.
The Aranese. Okay, you guys are all making me.
These three.
Amanda, good one job, Amanda. That was to pronounce every impossible word that Maddie and I taught.
Amanda.
Ancient Greek name. I got Zeus. So when we get to his part, I'm okay. But yeah,
when we get to the gods, it should be
Aranese. Or the Furies. That's what they're called. That's how I know their names.
Furies.
They're the Furies, because that's what they are.
So we have these three Furies that are also following Wonder Woman around, and they're trying to like, we know you're going to F this up. We know you're going to mess up. Like, you're beholden to her now, and if anything happens to her, you're responsible.
Yeah, because that's kind of their job, right?
Yeah.
In the ancient Greek, yeah.
So they're just watching, just to watch it happen. And eventually this young woman, she starts to feel very, very guilty for the burden that she's put on Wonder Woman, and, tries to run away, and there's more fighting between Wonder Woman and Batman, with Wonder Woman trying to protect that young girl from Batman. A lot of back and forth. And then eventually the woman dies at the end. But before she dies, she releases Wonder Woman of her responsibility, which is good, because she had died without doing that. It would have been good. But anyway, so it's a beautiful story, and I'm oversimplifying in a way that does not do it justice. But it's such a poignant story, and it sets off this run so well, because it really throws you into what Wonder Woman's dealing with as an ambassador as well, because she has her own Amazonian law, right? And she's beholden to that. But at the same time, she's got to deal with the laws of the modern world outside of, where she's from, outside of the gods and everything else. And it's very interesting to see the dichotomy between Wonder Woman and Batman and how they deal with things. And I mean, it's such a poignant story, and people always talk about this story, and it gets you hooked right away. And I don't know how did you feel about it, Amanda?
I thought it was a great start. It was not what I was expecting to start off with Wonder Woman. I mean, of course, I knew, her origins came from this mythology that I was really familiar with, but I was really excited to see that this first, volume or first issue first volume within this focused so heavily on this Greek tradition and this Greek mythology. And it not like you said, it shows her how she has to deal with the, gray areas between what she believes and how our world works. Our patriarchal world is what she continues to call it throughout the entire story. But also it just gives you a glimpse into her personality. So you really get to see Wonder Woman without it being explained to you. Like, this is how Wonder Woman is. And I really enjoy seeing how she has to even go against someone like Batman, who's supposed to be a friend, right? They're supposed to be working together. They're partners. That's, during some times in their lives, they'll probably be their partners. But in this instance, they're not, because, and for what she's talking about, the girl's story is, and that's what I like too, is this girl's story is very tragic, and you feel for her because it's not just about this. It's about this poor girl who all she was trying to do was bring the people who hurt her sister to justice, just like any of these guys would do, right? Like Batman bringing people to justice. She just.
Ooh, and there's a really good point. Not to interrupt you, but
yeah,
I just remember while you were talking about it. There's a really, really good line where Wonder Woman's laying in bed and she's thinking about this. So she's just learned from that girl about what's happened, because the girl was like, "Please, if you just use the lasso on me, I won't lie to you. I would tell you the truth," which is
exactly
so heartbreaking. I'll tell you. And so she does. And Wonder Woman's like, "Well, we'll talk about this later." But she sits in bed and she thinks about, what if this was Donna? What if this was Cassie? And of course, this is just following Donna Troy's death, which is they lived together.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what would I do? And honestly, that moment I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I mean, girl, you do the same. I mean, like, that's just
exactly.
how it goes.
What if it was Dick Grayson? Like, it was like this. Come on, Batman. Yeah. So, but that's what I think what I really enjoyed about the story. And so it was even so more heartbreaking. It was very classic Greek mythology, where the Furies are the ones, I believe, who kind of helped lure her out of the house and were kind of in her head, right? Trying to, because they wanted to see Wonder Woman fail. So, trying to get her to go and what she'd do, kill herself, was what she eventually did. And I think I love that classic Greek, and that plays throughout the other stories we see too. That's how it plays out. Very classic, the gods and all of the mythological creatures always meddling in human affairs. And that just, to me, was how this is just a great first story to get introduced to Wonder Woman. Because I don't think I've ever read a single, like, just Wonder Woman centric comic yet. She's always been part of the Justice League or part of something else.
I think this is a very interesting way to kick off the first trade paperback. By the way, these trades, we're only going to talk about the first two. So everything is leading into Infinite Crisis. So I think it stops at issue 216 is what Wonder Woman stops at, and then Mission's End collects the rest of the run, or Volume 3 that comes out in June, which we'll talk about probably around that time.
Yeah.
But it's cool because going back and rereading this, I know what's going to happen, right? I know all the little clues that he's giving you, or even like her own little inner turmoil about, what if it was Cassie? What if it was Donna Troy that this happened to? Because later on in the third arc, she comes to a point, and I'm not going to talk about it because we're not reviewing that book, but she does have to make a decision like that. And I thought it was really cool that Greg Rucka laid it out from the beginning, like her thinking about these things from the very beginning.
He had to lay it out.
I love that about it. I love the fact that I remember one time, like, Alfred's like, "Oh, you're gonna go see Wonder Woman." Batman's like, "Not every relationship between man and woman is what did he call it, like sexual or something?" I can't remember what he said. And I'm like, "Batman, you were all over Wonder Woman in the Justice League run." I love that Joe Kelly run. In Joe Kelly's run, they kind of got together. They started dating for a little bit. Like, I think they went out on like a couple of dates, and I really enjoyed that run because I thought it was really cool. But
that's an interesting dynamic.
But I can't add any more to what you two ladies have said about the way that this particular trade started off. I thought it started off great.
Yes. So then, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You take it from here.
No, I was gonna say. So then we kind of go into the next part, which this is really like. This is where we set up some of the long-running stuff throughout the next issues, and that's we're introduced to a character named Joda, who's a 29-year-old, just joined the Themyscira. That right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. You got it.
He's a new employee, going to be working with Wonder Woman and her team, and he's fresh-faced, ready to go. And they're like, "You sure you know what you're getting yourself into?" And through his eyes in this, like, the first, issue or so, we come to find out. So in this next arc, we have Wonder Woman, who has written a book called Reflections, and they're getting ready to publish it. Big deal, because it's just very much, I'm assuming, like a memoir / her thoughts and feelings about, and reflections about certain things going on in our world, her ideals, etc. And so she's written a book about it and lays it out. So we're introduced to this that's coming out, and we're introduced to someone we're setting up to be a villain, and that is a Miss Veronica Cale.
Yeah,
and
she comes back a lot.
Yes. So we're introduced to her as well, and we're introduced to a couple other people that she starts working with, like I think it's Leslie, who's a doctor, or scientist that works with her. We're introduced to another villain who, now I'm not very familiar with Wonder Woman villains, so
I can talk about her. You talking about Dr. Psycho or Silver Swan?
Psycho first, because that's the first one who appears.
Well, I mean, he's pretty easy to figure out. He's pretty easy to figure out what his powers are and how he feels about.
So Peter Dinklage going to play him when it comes time to do a live action?
It's
I hope not. That guy's so creepy. I mean, like, that character is so creepy, and I love Peter. So
I know, but he can play creepy. Weird.
You don't think he can do a range? I think he can.
I
pull
think
it off.
he can, and I just don't want to see that.
Oh, I see.
I do want to like a tail, though. Because, I mean, that's a pretty significant Wonder Woman villain, and she's good. She's almost like the Lex. She actually, she's pretty much a Lex Luthor of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she hates her for no reason. Other than she thinks she's a false idol, that our kids should not be worshiping her.
Well, because she wants to be her, basically. She's like, it's just like Lex with Superman. She's like, I worked really hard to be here, and this woman just shows up. And that's Lex's same thing. It's like, I was helping everybody, and then Superman just shows up and naturally can do all these things.
That's so human of us. It's such a human quality.
Always just be jealous of somebody.
Always be jealous.
That's the problem.
Can't be grateful for what you have.
But I think it's interesting that Rucka started reintroducing like older characters too in the run slowly, and I thought that was really cool. Because you're introduced to a whole cast of characters, but it's not like it's all in your face. He kind of goes about it slowly.
Yeah, he's done it well.
And you kind of get an idea of who they were. Like I said with Dr. Psycho, like right off the bat, you're like, oh, okay, he can. These are his powers. Apparently, don't get near him or let him talk to you.
Disturbing. And clearly, nothing works to sedate him very well for very long.
Right.
Yeah. We get Ferdinand. He's really important.
Ferdinand the Bull. Yeah, that's awesome. Not the cartoon that I'm familiar with. But it was. I gotta go with my references. And then we're also introduced to the gods, and of course,
that's another thing. An updated early aughts version of the gods, because Ares and all the gods never really looked like that, except like this is. Well, I mean, depending on the artist and the writer, sometimes they did, but they were more like classical gods. This is the first time I remember they're all wearing like I don't know, Armani suits and things like that. That I wasn't expecting.
What year was this written?
This is before Infinite Crisis, so his run probably started around 2000.
It looks
really late 90s.
Yeah, very 2000-esque.
Yeah, so I thought that was really unique in a way. Yeah, I mean that's the way like a lot of Neil
wear a lot of clothes.
Well, like Neil Gaiman's character Lucifer. That's the way he kind of dressed, really slick. And then Mike Carey wrote him, and now he's got his own series, or did. I don't know if it's still on or not. But anyway, I thought it was introducing us to the gods up there. Really cool and interesting, unique take on them. And they're going through their own little turmoil.
Yes, they are.
And all because they kind of want to take over and bang each other, because that's what gods do when they're bored.
Happy. They're not happy. Athena and some of the other goddesses are not happy with Zeus's rule. Now, and remember that Wonder Woman is the champion of Athena, right? She's their patron. So that plays a very important role later on as we get to further stories down the road in these volumes. So you have this. The big thing is when her book comes out and everyone starts reading it. Veronica Cale she runs like a PR agency of sorts, right? And so her agency was hired to kind of, do a review or look through the book. And her main goal is, as we all know, is to try to find something in there to make Wonder Woman look awful and to bring her down. And meanwhile, you have some side stories where you have Wonder Woman going to fight a forest fire with the Flash, or you think that's going to happen. And then after they save everyone, she tells the Flash, we're not going to stop the fire because you need the fire to happen so that rebirth can occur. And of course, Veronica Cale's people managed to videotape this, and they put it on the national news. And this is even though this was written in the 2000s, it's very relevant to our society today.
Yeah.
And how we handle media, where we're just looking at snippets of information and making judgment calls instead of the whole story. And that's what happens is this airs and you're just getting a snippet and everyone's up in arms. And you have these conservative pundits who are against her and her way of life. And she's ruining everything that, she's trying to invade our minds and ruin everything that we stand for with her Amazonian ideals. And that's, pretty much the start of this next part. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. No, you said it.
Comes out, and then like everybody's picketing outside of her office and everything. And that's when Veronica's like, okay, I can use this for my benefit. Mm-hmm. And so she gets Psycho Pirate out, drugs him in a way that makes him susceptible to her commands, and has a thing where she waits until a crowd forms outside. So you have those in support of Wonder Woman and those who are not in support of Wonder Woman. And then he plants thoughts in each of these groups' heads. And you can even see the thoughts he's putting in there, right? So you have one side that's like, she's ruining our kids, she's a baby killer, all this stuff. And the other side, they're like, they're crazy, they have no idea, they're just stupid. And then he gets them to fight each other, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then you have the most conservative voice in that audience who gets shot.
Exactly. In front of the embassy, no less. So that's a big deal. And she's nowhere to be found because she is off with the other villain that they choose, Silver Swan.
So really quick, Silver Swan, her and her mom, right after Crisis on Infinite Earths, during George Perez's run, they were kind of like Diana's first friend before she even spoke English. So she immediately built a bond with this family of mother and daughter. So she feels, really responsible for a lot of the things that's happened to her when she becomes this villain. So that's why she goes. That's why you'll see, like, she goes way out of her way to save this. It's not like, she calls her sister and things like that.
Yeah, she does.
So that's why she goes out of her way, because she feels this special bond because she was the very first, person that she made friends with here on the Patriarch Earth.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Continue.
And then not only right now that when that happens, you also have all the stuff that's going on where with Hera and Zeus.
Yes.
Because Ares is like, oh man, Zeus, doesn't Artemis look real hot? And Zeus is like, yeah, she does. And Hera is very upset that he's creeping on Artemis.
One of his own Amazonians. Yeah, there's this picture right here. And she's like, what are you looking at? Nothing. I wasn't looking on Tinder.
Not anything.
I swear. He got busted checking out one of his.
The worst sometimes. But that is Zeus. I mean, yes.
Well,
God.
Yeah. Leda the Swan. That's and the Swan. That is a poem I know very well from English class. But this is the first taste we get of Ares, and it wasn't until I read, got to the last end of the second volume where I was like, oh, I see what Ares. I was like, what is Ares' goal throughout this? I mean, so basically, he uses his brother Eros. We know is also Cupid in the Roman mythology. They're the same god, and he uses Eros to, I guess, hit him with a love arrow, Zeus, so that he, likes Artemis and fawns over her, and of course, this causes Hera to get upset, and she creates like a massive tidal wave to destroy the mascara because she's angry, and That makes sense.
That's what happens, man. People just jump to conclusions and start fucking destroying worlds.
Love and sex is a dangerous game, buddy. Don't
Apparently.
mess with it.
Good gosh,
Don't
all these innocent people get caught in the middle of it. I was minding my own business just visiting Paradise Island.
Yes, Athena. Yeah, and Athena's like, I'm just bathing. It's
not my fault. Your husband / brother / God overlord is creeping on his own creation.
Yeah, it's not my fault. And yeah, so this is, that's the huge turmoil you have with Olympus and what's going on there.
So then Wonder Woman's in a situation where she's like, I'm failing literally everyone.
Yes.
Like, she can't handle what's going on with Earth. She can't really help Silver Swan because when she tries to, she goes to Themyscira, but they can't help her. They've got their own turmoil because everything's destroyed. And then they move Themyscira too close to the U.S. And so U.S. our naval ships are like.
I just love that panel where she kicks.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, did she just kick? Oh yeah, she did. She totally just kicked Themyscira. Wow.
Yeah, and just burn it all apart.
Yeah. So, so that's sort of like the end of book 1, isn't it? The down to earth storyline.
Yeah, almost. Well, we're introduced almost because we're introduced to a couple of characters in book 1 that we should bring up that play an important role. Not only Ferdinand, but we're also introduced to Peter and his sons. Yes. The 2 young boys who are all living at the embassy. Are they living at the embassy?
They're living at the embassy.
Okay. Yeah, and they tell a story in the first volume that plays a very big part. In the second volume, it's the story of Perseus.
Cassie's story that she tells the children,
story.
And Ferdinand's like, you better dumb that story down.
And they do it so cute.
Yes,
it was adorable.
And
I like how
even the art changed.
I love that how they changed the art to reflect that this would be like a kid's story, not an adult story, because they definitely don't have the rippling biceps and stuff of some of these characters.
These Olympian gods.
Yes. So what's very significant about the destruction of Themyscira as well is also the release of Circe the Witch, which also plays a big role in the second volume as well.
So her and her daughter. Well, the Amazons are racing her daughter, but they were captured in a previous storyline. I can't remember if it's in Walter Simonson's run or Phil Jimenez's run. But yes, she is now unleashed, and go ahead.
Yes, and you're introduced to a couple of ladies, and they're the Gorgons, and they have taken Circe with them because they need her to help them resurrect their sister, and everyone should be familiar with this one because the other ones, I was not familiar with them and their names, but the one that we're going to resurrect, I am familiar with, and that is Medusa, the famed Gorgon with the head of snakes that can turn you to stone if you should look upon her.
This lady right here, Medusa.
Yes, and we all know that how Perseus defeated her. Looking in the so there you go.
Only because I saw Clash of the Titans.
Only because I saw Clash of the Titans too, and the original one.
The original one or the remake?
Yes, the original one. Yes,
okay. Carry on.
Although I did see the remake as well with Sam.
I fell asleep through the remake. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. And so of course we still have Veronica, going through all of her tricks, and we kind of get more of an explanation of who she is and what she can do. And now keep in mind her little plot somehow, like her plot with the PR people to get, to get Wonder Woman, I guess, by the media, is kind of foiled by someone who works within there, a female, I can't remember her name. And she goes to Diana and kind of tells her this is what she's trying to do. And so she's kind of aware that Veronica Cale is not such a great person. And where are we now? That's her story.
You were in the part where Veronica Cale shows kind of like her origin story about how she came from rags to riches, how her mom, her dad was like this rich guy that impregnated this, her mom, who was a stripper at the time, and he left her with no money and anything because he was already married.
Mhm.
And then eventually, I think didn't she get her mom get AIDS or something? It was something like I
Well,
don't
they
know.
don't talk too much about it. They just say she died.
She died.
Yeah.
And
she died a couple years
think
after
she
she was able to get that
but
money.
before that, Veronica had been like a really gifted child. Like she was really smart, and she approached her father about, "Hey, you got this lady knocked up, and if you don't want me to tell your sweet wife that I am your daughter, you better fork over some money." And it worked because he gave her money to go to college, right? And she went to a prestige school, and now she
Graduated,
is
like really quick, fast, and
you know
ahead of
your
the game.
typical supervillain storyline.
Oh, pretty much, yeah, 100%. But I
What?
mean, still,
What? No.
in her power suit, and her
Her
power
power
haircut,
suit.
I loved it.
Oh yeah,
No, she's
that
awesome.
early aughts Ally McBeal power suit.
Yes, and that hair. Yeah, it is a very She stepped out of one of those shows, and then you also have that going on.
Oh, this is
You
the
have
scene where she tells. Yeah, this is the lady that she captured from
and
her.
I was like, good lord. She doesn't. Yeah, she does not play around. She's definitely a villain in her own right for sure. And then you have Wonder Woman asking Bruce to find out who killed that conservative pundit that was killed in front of the embassy. That's how she finds out that it's Dr. Psycho.
Yeah.
And then you also have a big surprise. So we know that she was trying to get Silver Swan. She ends up knocking her out, essentially, bringing her back, trying to save her. She ends up going to that doctor we mentioned earlier that's working with Veronica Cale, and that is Leslie.
Yeah.
And because of her skills and knowledge, she wants her to help. And here we start to see a very interesting thing because Leslie, we start to see her develop a relationship of friendship that has some romantic undertones with Ferdinand as she visits more often, as she's trying to save Vanessa is Silver Swan's real name, right?
Vanessa. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're trying to save her life. And she also comes to really like Wonder Woman. And
yeah, because she was like, Veronica, she's not that bad.
Veronica's like, I don't care what you say.
She's an evil bitch. We got to kill her. Yep.
Yeah,
And,
so...
No, you go ahead.
Sorry, sometimes the internet's slow on my part, so I think it's a lull, and I jump in. I'm like, oh wait, we're talking stuff.
No, you're good. It is a lull. Yeah, because we're at the part where then Dr. Psycho comes back to attack, right?
Well, it's revealed that Dr. Psycho had taken over Veronica.
Yes.
Like impersonating her, so much so that he was about to bang the senator.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show you what kind of character Dr. Psycho is. Because he even makes a joke about that. He was like, man, if Wonder Woman hadn't walked in, wonder how far we could have gotten, how big boy.
I'm just saying, Wonder Woman #3, Peter Dinklage would be a great role for him. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Yeah, so when this wraps up, basically, I think, is this followed by the Flash story? We don't have enough time to really talk about that one, but you touched on it earlier.
Oh, no.
You mean
the Flash story was just a really quick little appearance by the Flash.
Yeah, it was a quick thing.
The crossover with the Flash is in Volume 2, and it's actually the ultimate story. Oh, I can't wait to talk about it.
No, because she's already, never mind, because she's already, okay. So, from there we have the Gorgons making their move.
Yes.
Basically, so they've already revived their sister. They've worked with the witch to make that happen. And they've revived her, and they're starting making their move on Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. So, and at the same time, they're also working with Veronica Cale because the witch is like, I can't help you as much. You're not going to get to her because, at this point, Medusa's kind of still nervous because last time she was out and about, she got her head cut off. So she's a little cautious about things. And so the witch is like, well, if you're going to really get after Wonder Woman, you need to go after her. You need to work with her greatest enemy. I'm not going to be as helpful to you because I have my own family problems. You need to talk to Veronica Cale. So they get with her. Eventually they make more moves, and then Medusa makes a move, all like leading up to Medusa making a move on the embassy. Now, she gets there, and Wonder Woman's fighting her. She's doing her best to cover her eyes. There's all of this, right? And this is following a big thing at another, like, government party. But
Yes.
I'm so basically, I know we're running a little out of time, so
Yes, forget. Yeah, so yeah, these are very dense stories to get through.
Yeah, so she knows that she's there.
Which says a
basically.
lot about the book, though. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It just shows you
it's perfect.
how much bang you get for your buck.
Oh yeah. So, and I excuse me, everybody at home, if I'm skipping through things, but I want to make sure that we really have time to get to volume 2 and really get through there.
Yes. Yes.
So Medusa makes her attack on the embassy, and after a big tussle, ends up turning the one young boy to stone. So they have I always forget their names.
The kids?
Martin and
well, anyway.
someone. Yes, they turn to stone. Yeah.
There's a family living at the embassy. It's a man
the one
and
we
two
mentioned
sons.
earlier. Yeah.
The one we mentioned earlier. Medusa turns one of the boys to stone. Basically ending his life, as far as they know, because there's nothing you can do.
Right, because everybody's all mopey. Like Ferdinand's like, no, this is not, this is something we can't undo. This is not science, it's God. So sorry, you lost your son.
And she even approaches Heron's like, can you fix this? You allowed for this to happen. And she's like, no. And he's like, well, can you at least tell the dad why? And she's like, no, you're going to have to do that. Okay. Yep. So Wonder Woman challenges Medusa to a fight, or Medusa challenges her.
Yes,
in Ares' name. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, absolutely, I'm pumped. Let's do this.
Of course.
And Veronica makes the move to do this live.
Yes, that's how she plays her part in it, because she wants.
Look how badass Diana looks though in her armor, ready to fight the Gorgon. You're like, yeah, man, tear that shit up,
my girl. Yeah, so she's ready. She's pumped. Oh yeah, I jumped a little bit into this. So they start fighting. This is live on TV, and she knows that if she loses, Medusa is going to look in that camera
and turn everyone to stone.
It's like the ending of Halloween 3. But not really. Go ahead.
So she's fighting her, and she almost gets to a point where she's losing because she has to blindfold herself. And Wonder Woman's still doing a kick-ass job because, of course, she is. She's the best.
Of course, she is.
Yes, I love that part really quick, Maddie, where she takes her helmet off. She's like, I got you now, bitch. And Wonder Woman's like, nah, you dumb bitch. I got blindfolded.
That is hilarious.
Gotcha. It's so good.
I kind of chuckled a little bit at that one, yeah.
And she loses the blindfold at some point, and Medusa's like, look at me. And Wonder Woman is a badass, and she takes one of those snips that she cut off Medusa's head and like squirts the venom into her eyes.
Ugh.
It's insane. Woo, girl. And then she cuts that woman's head off.
Exactly right.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, so that leads us about a little bit into volume 2. Wonder Woman's blind. Medusa's dead. The Gorgons have lost. Ares is happy. And now Wonder Woman has to deal with this. Basically. Yes. So that's when we have that flash story.
Yeah, she has to deal and she also has to deal with like her own people. Like, I'm not gonna come and help somebody from that world. They're not from Paradise or Themyscira,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and let's not forget that while all this is going on, Athena has raised her own army, right, of goddesses to go against Zeus, because she feels that the way he operates no longer works anymore, and it's time for a new rule. And she wants to be the new leader of the Olympian gods. And so he wants to pit his monster against her best champion, which of course is Diana. So after this whole Gorgon episode occurs, we have Athena having to call upon her champion, who is in the throes of mourning, to go and pretty much fight this battle for her so that she can rule over Olympus.
This big old dude here with the many hands.
Yes,
I like that fight. That was really cool because she got the help of all the other goddesses, right? Like they all helped her, including holding the head. Go ahead, Maddie. You look like you were holding something up.
Well, I didn't want us to gloss over. I know we have a lot to talk about, but she has to prove herself to the League again. Most importantly,
I love that.
Oh yeah, that's a great because she's gone blind.
Yes, and so everyone has to fight her, and I mean everyone. So she's got the whole Justice League fighting her and testing her.
I love the fact that she was like, Clark, if it was you, we wouldn't have to test you. And he was like, if it was me, I would resign myself. So that shows you the differences between the two characters. It's really cool. And then how everybody was holding back fighting her.
Except for Batman.
Except for Batman, right? Because he's like, no, she's. I mean, you know, this is a life death thing. We have to make sure that she can prove herself.
Yeah. So cool.
Which leads us to the final arc, right, Maddie? The Land of the Dead. So
yep.
This starts off. This is in volume 2, but it kicks off with the crossover with the Flash. At the time, Jeff Johns was writing the Flash. I cannot wait to read that run with you ladies because it's one of my favorite comic books of all time as well. And we have Zoom team up with Cheetah because Cheetah, for some reason, finds this interesting attraction to this character. And she's like, teach me the ways.
She wants his speed.
I want your speed, which is interesting. And he's a very... And I can't get into it without giving much away because I want you all to enjoy Flash for what it is. But he is a very interesting villain in the way that he wants to make the hero a better hero by making tragic things happen in their lives. And a lot, when you read Flash, you'll see what I mean. But in this, she was like, oh, yeah, or he was like, yeah, you want to be a better villain. We got to kill the original Cheetah. Just like out of nowhere. He's like, yeah, we got to kill this 81-year-old lady that used to wear the costume so you can be the one and only Cheetah. And, you know, she's Minerva's crazy enough that she's like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, let's go do it, yeah.
So that's where they kind of run into Wally West Flash, because Wally West was the Flash at the time. Barry Allen was dead, and Wonder Woman. They have a team up. And I'm sorry, Maddie, I interrupted you while you were wanting to talk about that.
Oh, no. You can talk about that, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
I like that story, but I was also just I love
that story serves.
So I want to get through. I always want to get through that when I was reading it faster.
Oh man, but see, this story to me, because I know where this is going. This is where Dr. Psycho shows up at the end, and Zoom and Cheetah are like, "What's this about?" And then you don't get to find out about this until Villains United, which leads into Infinite Crisis. That's why this plays a very important role, and it's how everything just ties together. Oh man, I love DC during this time. Anyway, so then we get to the last story arc in the second volume, which is Land of the Dead, I think, or is that what it's called, or the Bronze Doors? The Bronze Doors.
Yes,
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
What's up, Make Havoc? Sorry, shout out.
Yeah. No, you're fine. So this is this ties into where we were talking about earlier with Athena taking power. So then after she takes power, you realize that Ares is working with the brothers Poseidon, Zeus, and Hades. For those of you who are familiar with Greek mythology, those three are brothers in the Greek mythology, or just the Hercules movie from Disney. Either one will tell you the same thing. And so clearly these men, those three, are not happy that Athena is now in power. They want their rule back, and so they have started to raise this army of the undead, if you will. And they have Hermes, right, who is our messenger god, pretty much. And Athena has called upon her champion once again to have her come and go to the underworld and rescue Hermes and bring him back. And so she brings Cassie with her, and Ferdinand asks to go, mainly because Athena says, if you do this for me, I will give you what you wish for. And so Ferdinand's hoping this is the same thing, because we had the side story with him and Leslie where she clearly has feelings for him. He has feelings for her, but he thinks she doesn't act on them because he's half man, half bull. And so he's hoping that if he helps Wonder Woman bring Hermes back, then maybe Athena will turn him into a man fully so he can be with Leslie. So the three of them go into the underworld, and there, after some turmoil with the Pisuais, or I can't pronounce their names, but those ladies who make them think they're saying not because they want to eat their blood, drink their blood, Ares comes and saves them, and he leads them to basically Hades, who they have to fight and destroy. And they have a big battle with the whole crew. Ares, of course, doesn't show up till the very end, and you think Ares is going to help Hades defeat Wonder Woman once and for all, but nope, stabs Hades literally right in the back, because that is Ares. And you finally, and Wonder Woman, of course, has figured this all out, but finally the reader figures out what Ares' end goal from the beginning of Volume 1 to now has been, and he wants to rule the underworld. He worked with Athena and kind of acted as a double agent between the two factions of gods, and pretty much now that he has destroyed Hades, he gets to rule the underworld, because that's what Athena says. He's now king of the underworld, and she is the queen of the gods. And Zeus learns the error of his ways and apologizes to everyone, and Poseidon is still kind of a jerk.
Well, even when they were in the underworld, he was like, maybe I overreacted. Maybe I I shouldn't have tried to kill her. Because, he is holding back. He's like, yeah, don't do it. Like in this panel right here, he's like, yeah, don't kill her.
Zeus is like a child. He always is. And he's definitely like that in Wonder Woman comics, because he's just kind of a goofy guy. He's very much like a goofy patriarch, because he makes these rash decisions. But at the same time, he's just dumb. He's just a dumb guy, Zeus. And all the gods agree with that. They're all just like, you're stupid. And Hera's dumb too. Zeus is dumb and Hera's dumb. They're dumb in this run, and they're dumb in Azarello's run. But that makes them endearing. And it makes the rest of the gods very interesting. That whole dynamic is very interesting.
Well, I think it also humanizes them and makes them, not perfect. So you can relate to these people. You can relate to this guy that's like scoping out this really young chick that might be related to. Of course, they're all related, so it's kind of a fucked up place anyway.
I mean, that's Greek mythology, right? That's how these gods are. Yeah. They all slept with each other. They all slept with humans, and they were.
Which I love that was the edited version that Cassie had to tell the kids. Yeah. They were like, leave out the part where that's his mom / sister / lover.
I love them.
But that finishes out the run. Let's talk about it, the overall. Now, like I said, there is one more volume, and that volume is collected in Mission's End, and it's also going to be volume 3 of the Greg Rucka Wonder Woman run, which comes out in June, I believe. And I really want to read that just so we can get ready for Infinite Crisis.
Yeah. And it might be fun to read Rucka's Rebirth run later too. Just
of course.
I would agree.
That comparison, because I like that run too.
So the one drawback of this run, I think, for me, is the art. It kicks off with J.G. Jones. I loved his. What did we agree on? Hiketia.
Whatever.
Hiketia. I don't know.
I love his art in that. Right, so that was perfect. But then we got who was it? Drew Johnson, I think.
Yeah.
And his art is kind of all over the place. While I like some of it is just, I don't know, too cartoony. He was the guy that drew most of the run, not the guy that finished it.
I disagree.
You like this?
I love the art.
Really? Okay. So tell me what.
I love it. I think it's great. I like the cartoonist. I like how she's drawn. I like how everyone's drawn. I think it's very interesting. Yeah. I think they're very emotive in a way that's believable. Okay. I think it's very at the times. It's very 2000, but I like it. I like the line art and the inking and he does it.
I think I had an issue with the way that their bodies are like. I think he had a hard time drawing people just standing there. Maybe that was my issue with this particular artist.
Like weird poses?
Yeah, like, there are some artists that struggle with that. Some artists that are really good with action panels. And, I mean, like, this is a gorgeous piece of art, not because she's completely naked, but just because of use of shadows and things. I like that. But then the same guy, also, let me just find one of these. I don't know, really weird panels that just the angles are off and the face is off. But anyway, that's just my opinion. You liked did you like what was it, Cliff Chang, the guy that drew Azarello's run on New 52?
I didn't like it right away.
Okay.
But as I got through it, I really, really liked it. It really grew on me. I love the characters. I really, really like got into that artwork, but I didn't like it at first. It was a turnoff for me in the beginning.
Okay.
This got me right away. I don't have any problems with this art.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you really liked it. So it is Drew Johnson. He's the one that drew most of this.
Drew.
And then we got a couple of like, I did not like the guy that did this. This is the Justice League comic, the one with the Justice League.
Yeah.
I don't know. The guys were just ridiculously proportioned. And I'll tell you who ended the run. I'm not a big fan of, but I know a lot of people like, and that is Rag Morales. I have never liked that guy's artwork. He's the one that drew Identity Crisis. I don't know how this guy blew up and became such a superstar, but I have never been a fan of his art. And because he draws like, there are some really great panels, I think, but then some of the panels just seem really off and rushed. Like he was like, yeah, I guess that's a human being. Next. Yeah, like this guy, like Superboy's face right there. Like it's that kind of weird, cheesy art that he gives him. I don't know. I never really cared for his artwork. I actually enjoyed Drew Johnson's art more than I did Rag Morales. I like Justiano, or what's his name? The guy that did the Flash stuff. What's his name? Justiano.
Justiniano. I don't know how you say it.
Justiniano. Hecataya. Justiniano. Yes, I don't know what it is about this guy. See, this is my kind of cartoony art that I enjoy. Things like this. So this is my kind of stuff that I like. I liked his art a lot. And he did Flash towards the end, like almost towards leading up to Infinite Crisis. Look, this is the kind of action that I like. It's cartoony, it's a little over the top.
Sure,
but
it's
just enough to make it enjoyable.
Yeah.
What about Amanda? What did you think of the artwork?
I mean, I could see that it wasn't like consistent throughout, so I realized there was different artists. There were panels I liked and panels I didn't like. Overall, I mean, I didn't mind it. Like towards the end, some of the faces and stuff seemed off. Maybe that's something that I didn't really care for.
In the last arc?
Yeah, in the last arc. Yeah.
Oh, that's Rag Morales.
That's
who I've never taken
not a fan of. Yeah, some of those it did seem like when you said rushed, that exactly be the word I used for. Like it almost like was half finished as far as like there's like a panel of like Ares' face and they're all sitting there as when he becomes the king of the underworld. And it just feels like maybe there is, his face, there's not any, like it's a panel of his face, but yet there's not a lot of detail in it, his face. So I don't know.
That's what some of the things I was going to point out too. Like, there's like, it's like there's detailed artwork in some panels, and then like back here, you just whatever. Yeah, that's a guy with a beard, maybe. I don't know. I just had a problem with his art, but I will say that the story kept me going because I couldn't put this book down again. This is my third read through of Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman. As the first time readers, what did you all think?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, this is her second time reading.
Oh, that's
so I
great.
think I'm the only I'm the only actual new reader because it was the first time I've ever read it, and I really enjoyed it. And I love Greek mythology, and I don't think I ever realized how embedded it was in Diana's myth. I always thought, okay, she came from the Amazons, but everything would have been focused on modern day or whatever was happening with the Justice League or her being in our country, and I never imagined that it would have so much to do with mythology. So I really enjoyed it, and I think Greg Rucka did a really good job of weaving the stories together. And yes, there's a lot of dialogue, but I'm a fan of dialogue, so it was good with me, and I think that is probably my favorite thing about it. It's just all the dialogue and how the stories wove together. So I enjoyed it, and I can see that I'd like to read volume 3 because I want to see what happens next with Jonah, our secret double agent guy.
Jonah.
I had no idea.
I had honestly forgotten about Jonah until you mentioned him earlier. I'm like, or when I reread this. Maddie, how about you? What did you think about it the second time around?
It's still really good. This was like one of the first things you recommended to me. So a little bit of my comic book origin story. I watched Wonder Woman. I got obsessed. I was like, I've got to have more of this. And Omar recommended to me Rucka's Wonder Woman. So my first foray into like DC Comics and Wonder Woman, really at all, was this run, and then also Rucka's Rebirth run.
Yeah,
and it's just great. I mean, I loved Greek mythology. I love all of this. I think they show such a good side of her. Some people don't know how to write Wonder Woman because they just assume that she's some stoic warrior woman, and that's not all that she is. And I think this does such a good job of introducing Wonder Woman to the reader, because she's so much more than just an ambassador, and she's so much more than a warrior. She's really multifaceted. She shows a lot of emotions and a lot of strength, and Rucka really knows how to write her. And he knows how to put in the Greek elements, or the Greek mythology elements, in a way that makes sense with the comic book world, and in a way that keeps it interesting. Like, there's such a world built around her that's so interesting and really gets the reader involved. I love it. I love all of this. It's great, and it's made me appreciate all of the Wonder Woman books that I've read after this. And this is the first thing I recommend to anyone who wants to get into Wonder Woman. So.
Yeah, that's my recommendation too. Like, I always tell people to read this run. I did a Wonder Woman readathon twice, and both times I'm like, oh yeah, I cannot wait to get to Greg Rucka's run. Not that a lot of the other runs were bad. It was just that this one was so interesting in I thought a unique way of bringing a lot of these old stories into, for newer readers. I thought it was really cool. I like the aspect of Wonder Woman being taken down by her arch nemesis, by the gods, and also, by this almost TV personality person that was, like saying, hey, people are worshiping you. You're teaching kids that God's not real. I had never seen that in a Wonder Woman comic to this extreme. I thought that was really cool that Rucka did that. And it kind of made it a big villain arc, right? Because eventually that villain teamed up with her real villains. So I thought that was really cool. That's right, Taylor. He mentions Greg Rucka's OMAC project, which we're going to read because it's part of the lead into Infinite Crisis, and then Checkmate, which was the spin-off series, which was great.
I've got some Checkmate too, because it ran in conjunction with like Outsiders and
they had a crossover.
Oh, I have the OMAC project, or do I have a OMAC? Yes, I do. It's something I bought at all.
There's only one OMAC project.
Well, then I have it, and I have it already.
All right,
I got it. So we can read it.
So let's rate the book and then talk about next week. Ladies first.
Okay, I'll give mine. I would give this I give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. It was great. I mean, I enjoyed it. She is definitely a good female icon, and this is a great story to start with.
Cool.
I give it a 10 out of 10. No one's surprised. I mean, this story means a lot to me, and I love Wonder Woman. I love reading about her, and he does it so well. I don't have any problems with this book. I think it's a lot richer than a lot of other comic books. There's a lot more going into this than you would see in a lot of other stories.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I would give this... Had we read the third book, I know what my rating would have been, but we haven't read the third book, so just the first two books, I give it a 9 out of 10. Just the story will not disappoint. It will keep you reading, and the payoff is amazing, especially when you get to the end of the third book. The only reason I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 is because of the artwork. Otherwise, it would have been a 10. Had Liam Sharp and Nicola Scott drawn these stories, oh my god, this would have been a 20 out of 10. It's phenomenal. But yes, 9 out of 10 for me. So there you go. 10 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10, and 9 out of 10. Go and buy it at InStockTrades.com because it's 50% off for 1 week. So
that's right.
Next week.
Next
it's my
week.
birthday week.
Dark
birthday week.
Dark Phoenix.
My birthday week. Oh, really quick. Shout out to, is it Shane that has a birthday today?
Yeah, I think so.
He's one of our viewers, and he doesn't make it to the live show because I believe he's working. But he's a really good guy. He's from Kentucky, and he has a birthday today. So happy birthday, sir! So next week we're reading the classic Chris Claremont Uncanny X-Men Dark Phoenix Saga. And if you own the omnibus, you should read it anyway. But if you're wondering what the issues are, I believe they start in 128 or 129 and go all the way up into 137. They should have included 138 too as the aftermath, but I don't know why the trade didn't. But if you want to read along with us, that is Uncanny X-Men 129 all the way up to 137. I think that's how the trades are. I will double check. You've got the trade, don't you, Amanda?
I do. We bought it. It was one of the things we bought during one of our runs. So,
was it?
Yeah, I think so. Or you bought it for me, or I got it for Christmas. Oh, I got it for Christmas. I lied. It was a Christmas present. But I got it regardless.
People just buy you so much that you can't keep up.
Can't keep up. And then after that...
129. Oh, no, it does include 138. So it is issues 129 to 138 is what it includes.
And I'm sure it'll still be the best Dark Phoenix story I will read or see.
Right? Maybe. Unless Fox has something up their sleeves. But yeah, exactly. I guess we'll see. So yes, join us next week, and then and that is on March 12th at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. On March 19th, we are reading Gail Simone's, right? Gail Simone's, Gail Simone's, don't say it. Red Sonja.
Red Sonja.
Yes, volumes 1 and 2, right?
Volumes 1 and 2.
Yeah, I just got
Red Sonja.
Yeah.
So,
if we can read all 3, that'd be the best. I'll get it for everybody.
I will
it completes the story better. It's a much quicker read than this, I promise.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Okay. I will try. So volumes 1, 2, and 3 of Gail Simone's Red Sonja by Dynamite Comics, right? Are we talking thick trades, or are we talking about omnibuses? I don't know about the.
No, they're very thin. They're thin trades. There's no omnibus collecting these.
Yeah, they're thin trades.
Okay.
I have it on my Red Sonja shelf.
Yeah, I think I have.
So these are 1 and 3, but they're very thin.
Is that Jenny Frison did the cover?
Yes, my girl.
Okay, so Red Sonja by Gail Simone, Dynamite Comics. Very interesting because she, like Freddie said, she comes from the Conan universe, but Conan is not allowed to show up in those comics because that is owned by Marvel now. Then Amanda did an amazing poll, and we had so many votes. We had over 200
you guys for voting.
50, I don't know, 260
almost 300 votes. Thank you guys so much. That was awesome.
So almost 300 votes.
Yes.
And what book are we going to read?
We'll be reading another Greg Rucka classic, and that is Lazarus Volume 1.
Okay, now.
That's what everyone wanted, so that's what we'll be reading, which I'm excited about.
Lazarus has a hardcover and a soft cover. The hardcover collects issues 1 through 10 or 12. I can't remember. If only I could reach back there and get it. Where the hell is it? It's back here somewhere. So that's what we will be reading, the hardcover with the first 12 issues.
Yep.
Okay. So this book right here is what we will be reading for March 26th, and that is Lazarus by Greg Rucka. And who is this? Luke Ross? Who draws this? Or Steve Epting? Michael Lark. Oh, hell yes. Michael Lark. Let me see what it collects here. I think it's the first 10 issues. Yeah. So here you go. This is the book we will be reading for March 28th. So please read along with us. Be great. This was a lot of fun. Thank you to all the people that joined us for the live chat. Thank you for the people that can't join us for the live chat, but still watch. Don't forget to hit that like button. Okay, so ladies, you want to sign us off?
Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching. Like Omar said, hit that like and subscribe button, and then ring that bell for notifications for more great near mint on. And remember, guys, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint. Have a great evening, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye, guys.